you doing, Jack?
Just watching BAIZE watch.
Mate, we're on the World Cup in a minute. You need to get practicing. You still on that BAIZE watch?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mate, we're about to represent our country.
We feel for you, Jack. BAIZE watch is pretty addictive. Here's what's coming up on episode 13.
Judd Trump turns up for the wrong show.
Baywatch.
Steve Davis comes a clear third in a most interesting t-shirt competition.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello. 1, 2, 3.
And Matt Selt takes on the Great British Break Off.
That's what I do.
Before we get stuck into a very tasty episode 13, here's a review of the action from the first 3 events of the season.
Wuxi hosted the season's curtain raiser as teams from 23 countries battled it out to win the World Cup. In the end, Scotland's John Higgins and Stephen Maguire took home the title. China's 19-year-old Yan Bingtao became the first teenager to win a ranking title for 13 years as he defeated Mark Joyce to win the Riga Masters in the Latvian capital. And world champion Judd Trump got his season underway in stunning fashion, thrashing Shaun Murphy 10-3 to win the international championship in Daqing, claiming the world #1 spot in the process.
On the back of winning the international championship earlier this month, Judd Trump looks set to become snooker's dominant force. Well, we sat down with him to take a look back at some of his best moments from the crucible.
He could make this.
This shot was obviously massively important in the context of the championship. I think I was in big trouble. Tepcha was a little bit unlucky not to finish on anything. As he split the back, he hit him just a little bit too hard and he left me tight on the cushion. I had a choice between a plant and the double and I felt I just had to go for it.
He's played a back double. And he's got a back double. That is amazing to drop on the blue like that, but what a shot he took on there.
Luckily for me, I'm not really that good at doubles, but this one went straight in the heart of the pocket, got a little flick off the jaw and finished perfect on the blue.
Well, he's up against possibly the greatest of all time at clearing up situations like this.
Even I watched that shot back a few times in disbelief. I have no idea how I potted that.
Well, he threw everything after that. The only player in the game that could produce that type of shot.
I think sometimes, obviously, when the crowd respond, especially to that one, if they went mad, I was just trying not to laugh too much and just concentrate on the next shot.
What way does he play this? Having a little joke with his opponent, that's nice to see.
He looked up at me and asked me whether he should go for the pot or the double, and I thought definitely the double.
Is he going to play the double or is he going to play it into the corner? He's going to play it. Get it! What a shot!
Unbelievable! Retained one of the best doublers in the professional game.
Yeah, it would have been an amazing achievement. I think from where the balls were, I think me and everyone else in the crowd wanted him to make that.
Would you believe it?
John Higgins, 113.
Well, a standing ovation anyway.
Yeah, I thought he was going to make it. I think the crowd was so noisy. I think, obviously not their fault, they were so excited, but it just put him off just that little bit. He had to wait a little bit too long, and I think when you're going for a 147, the pressure builds and builds the more time you take, so you just want to get on with the break, and luckily for him, he ended up potting an amazing double, and the pressure just kind of built up after that.
You've got to go for the 147, surely.
balls weren't particularly great. I think I finished very awkward. I was going to take the pink, and then I think someone shouted at me to take the black, so I kind of felt like I had to do it then.
There's only one player in the world that will be able to pop this red into the green pocket, knock the other red out and get on the black, and he's at the table now.
That's a nice little shot, Steve, to predict there. Come on, Judd, you can do it.
The red to get back on the table, I felt, for some reason, I felt 100% confident I was going to pod it and finish perfect.
Wow, he's done it! He's done it! Look at the red's gone. Wow! This could be the greatest ever maximum break.
The crowd reaction to that shot was incredible, and I think after that point I really felt like I could make it there. It was still a little bit awkward. Finished good on the second to last red, and still to this day I have no idea how that red didn't drop in.
Get in, turn, please turn, keep turning, turn, turn! Wow, what an effort!
There's not really many points in your career where you don't ever feel like missing, and this was one of them, so I was so relaxed, and even watching it back now I'm disappointed because I felt like if this red does drop, which I thought it probably should have, 100% feel confident that I would have made it from there.
And he looks to the heavens. There's no better feeling in the world when you're popping a few balls that's going to give you your first World Championship.
It's a strange feeling. I think I'd like to win it again to be able to really celebrate more, but it's just sort of relief leaving your body more than anything. There was no real happiness or anything, it was just pure relief coming out, and sort of a lifelong goal coming true. Obviously, at times, obviously losing to John 8 years ago and not being back to the final again since, you're starting to think, am I ever going to get back there? So it was so nice just to get that out of the way.
John Higgins will come forward, puts his cue down to congratulate Judd Trump. Absolutely incredible performance from Judd Trump to win his first World Championship.
Well, many of you will already know that after ending his career on the BAIZE, Steve Davis became a DJ. Now he's part of the band Utopia Strong, playing the modular synthesizer, and they've just released their first album. We went along to rehearsals to find out a little bit more.
Well, it's a privilege to be here in the same room as the Utopia Strong, and in the very room where your album was conceived and a lot of it was made. Steve, just tell us a little bit about how the band came about.
Yeah, so 2018, January the 2nd, we sat down, and Carvis's idea to have a jam, whatever that means. And then at the end of the night, we just went, we like it. And then we set about, for the rest of 2018, trying to make it into tracks.
Carvis, you said that it felt like there was an element of magic at play in making the album.
Absolutely, just because, you know, having been a musician most of my life and done a fair bit of improvising, it doesn't always turn out this well. You know, a lot of it, you know, turns out pretty badly actually. And it felt like all three of us were giving each other space and were listening to one another. And so much of it sounded really deliberate. It felt like, you know, what improvising should be really, which is sort of composing in real time. And the strike rate, we recorded about 9 pieces. It's about 2.5 hours worth of music. And although, you know, some of them took a bit of a while to get going, it was really, really good. And there was sort of nothing that you listened back and thought, oh, I wish he hadn't done that. Oh, I wish, which usually happens with these things. And it was like, God, this sort of feels like magic. You know, and a lot of the time we don't even remember really coming up with it. You know, it was actually a real shock to us listening to the stuff back. It was as if someone else had come up with it.
I think that's it. When it's not commercial music, you're doing it because you're really, really into it, and there's no other agenda. And I think real music heads can detect that.
Straight away, I really got that Steve was a real active listener. And I mean, a lot of people, like you say, will put on music in the background, but you know, active listening, you're really engaging with it as if you were reading a book or watching a film. You're absolutely, you know, in there with the music. So I always knew Steve was an active listener, and when we started playing together, especially with improvising, you really have to listen to one another, and all the contributions that Steve was bringing into it, And then also when we were organising the album and working out the direction, was clearly from the point of view of someone who spent the best part of, 40 or 50 years absolutely listening inside and behind the notes and to the music. No, totally. It's.
You make it 30. You make it 30 years, not 40 or 50.
Oh, sorry, Steve.
50 years. I mean, yeah, it's right.
When did you start listening to music?
50 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
50 years ago.
When did you start listening actively?
50 years ago.
You bring water.
I don't know when to retire from my music career. The snooker thing was hard enough to know when to retire. This is different,
When you start making bad records, that's always a good time. I mean, would that more people
wait for the reviews.
We're nowhere near even the difficult second album yet. I don't know how it's gonna.
It's gonna be
dead easy, yeah.
Bump into these two guys and to actually be sort of effectively chaperoned along the way has been wonderful as well. And it's been a wonderful journey in that respect. And I have to pinch myself, and I'm sure we all do, that we're now in the situation where there's something happening that, as Carver says, does seem a bit magical. Seems like it's sort of fated.
Have you found, Steve, that your sense of kind of artistic merit and satisfaction from creating something yourselves is on a kind of different level to what you were doing before with DJing?
Yeah, the DJing is great fun. You're playing other people's music, but you're trying to sort of make sure that everybody has a party. This is another world, and it's so different to competitive sport. I feel like it's a different part of my brain, and since I retired, I've sort of slightly changed my outlook. The competitive instinct for me's gone completely. I've no interest in that. I mean, to some degree, that's why when I stopped playing, I said I'm not going to play on the seniors stuff, because I didn't want to compete at any type of level.
It used to be for you in bed at 9 o'clock with a glass of milk. Now you're probably sort of injecting drugs into your eyeballs at 5 o'clock in the morning. Was it?
I feel like
up at 9 o'clock.
I do feel like it's a very bizarre thing that's happened, in as much as my life sort of have got. Jimmy White and myself seem to have gone in different directions, in as much as Jimmy started off, as a party animal, and also brilliantly doing what he did, and he's now total professional. I'm not saying he wasn't then, but he's even admitted it in his book. He's now waking up in the morning, practicing and grafting away. He still loves snooker, and I've gone from that when I was in my teens, going to bed with a glass of hot milk and then practicing for 8 hours a day, and I've gone sort of totally in the opposite direction. And I sort of feel like there's an element of Benjamin Button going on. The snooker world is it's a fascinating world to be involved in, but so is the music world in a totally different way. And for the artists are a different beast. So I feel quite lucky to have tapped into both. You see the likes of Stephen Hendry like an animal on the table, and all of the top players are all animals. And every now and again you'll bump into one who may have a little bit of musical interest, and they're sort of much more down that way. They may get the chance later on to investigate that, but I feel quite lucky to have not jumped ship, because it's not been like that. But it's just sort of like to have tasted both aspects.
I'm Matthew Selt. I'm just about to smash the Great British Break Off. Clean the white. Ready? Don't you hit that button yet, Ivan. side.
Go down, ball.
Along left. Give me a 5-eye.
Yes!
For the quickest. Thank you. 8th take.
So congratulations are in order for Matthew Sell. He finishes top of our Great British Break-Off leaderboard. We'll have a new challenge coming for you soon. Next up on BAIZE Watch, here's Kyren Wilson with the latest edition of Warrior Training.
Yeah, this time I've landed right side of the blue. So I'm going to show you this shot where I'm going to try and smash the reds open. But, you know, try and be a little bit precise on where I'm going to be cannoning the pack. I want to be hitting the pink full in the face. I think a key thing on this sort of shot is to make sure you get the right amount of spin and stun to make sure you hold your white in this sort of area. A lot of the time you can come off it thin, possibly going off or lose your white back at the table. So I'm going to be playing this with a lot of bottom. Just trying to hit the pink full in the face, scatter the reds and obviously hold my white in position. So nice clean contact, probably caught the pink a little bit on the thin side, but because I hit it full enough and got the necessary spin on the cue ball, my white's not run away of itself and I've given myself, you know, the odd option.
So that's it for episode 13 of BAIZE Watch, but don't be too disheartened because we're off to Germany for the Paul Hunter Classic this weekend, and after that, it's an Asian snooker feast.
First, the World Snooker Tour heads to Firth, where Kyren Wilson will be looking to defend the Paul Hunter Classic title. The Warrior will also arrive in Bangkok as the reigning champion at the 6 Red World Championship. 24 of the world's best will congregate for the most lucrative invitational event in snooker at the Shanghai Masters, with Ronnie O'Sullivan aiming to keep hold of the trophy. And we round off a busy September with the China Championship in Guangzhou. Mark Selby returns as defending champion.
What are you doing, Jack?
Just watching BAIZE Watch. Sorry, man. I knew I wasn't trying to.
I knew I'd get everyone laughing because I was taking too long. I was waiting for you.
Right, no, this needs to be raw serious, otherwise this will keep happening. Say action him in, then let's make it raw serious. Like.
Yeah. No, you can't say action, just say.